Hey everybody, it's Galmadex, and welcome back to another premiere draft of Pioneer Masters during the Spells bonus sheet era. I believe the Miming Slime's the card from the Spells bonus sheet. Doesn't matter too much here. We've got a Gates Ablaze, one of the best uncommons in the format, and I'm sure it's going to remain that way through all three different bonus sheets. The Gates decks are just really pushed in the set with a Guild Gate in pretty much every pack and tons of fantastic, powerful, multicolored spells to splash in, as well as gates kind of build rounds and payoffs like the Gates Ablaze. So just a really powerful, multicolored, grindy controlling deck. And Gates Ablaze is like the best piece to have for it to make sure that you do not get demolished by any more aggressive decks. So if you can start your draft with a Gates Ablaze, you're pretty locked in to be in a good position to draft a powerful Gates deck. For pick two, we have a Gear Crafter just to stick to red. We have a Guild Gates as usual, and not much else that would be particularly good in a Gates deck, so I don't mind just taking the Guild Gate off of a card as powerful as Gates Ablaze starting us off here. But the Voyaging Satyr can also play pretty well, ramping you up in any green deck you play. Gates decks tend to be, of course, green at the core because that's where you get all of the mana fixing outside of your mana base. So Satyr's probably the best non-Guild Gate pickup, but off of Gates Ablaze, I'm just going to take a Guild Gate and run with it. Turn and Burn, a sweet new card from the Spells bonus sheet here. This can kill any creature for 5 mana if you can turn it to make it a 0/1 and then burn it to finish off that 0/1. But sometimes you can even use it during combat as like a really big blowout. Not that that's going to happen too often in a Gates deck, but it's still really flexible removal. It's quite multicolored, but so are Gates decks. We can definitely get to blue and red mana for that. So that seems like the strongest card here for us. Pick number 4, there's a Simic Guild Gate. This is one of the highest picks in terms of gates because it is a green gate. So any of the green guild gates pretty much are quite high picks for the gates decks, but especially green blue and green red right now, as those are the other colors we see represented in the cards we've taken so far. Yeah, very easy Simic guild gate. Pick number 5. This pack's pretty mediocre outside of a really good heroic white card for dedicated like Boros aggro decks. There is also Cloudfin Raptor, which is solid in any aggressive blue deck, because it can quite often be like a 2/3 flyer for only 1 mana. So these are the best cards in the pack, so I think we take one of them. Evolving Wilds will be helpful for a Gates deck, but I don't want to like fully lock in. If we stop seeing Gates here entirely, we might have to play a streamlined 2-color aggro deck, and both of these are really, really strong cards to pivot onto. Particularly, I think the Phalanx leader probably. The argument towards the Cloudfin Raptor is we could have like a blue-red aggro pivot where I can curve out like Cloudfin Raptor, have the Turn and Burn still in the same deck. So maybe leaning in that direction, having a deck to pivot onto that we already have a card or two for could be nice. So I guess I will actually go for the Raptor with our Turn and Burn here. Pick 6. Nothing here is really good. For a Gates deck or a blue-red aggro deck, there's just some fine cards like Consider, Skirmisher, Slide Runner, Naiad, pretty filler. Probably just go deeper into blue, have like a core color here, grab a Consider that fits into any blue deck. Pick 7, once again, no Gates cards here. Rampager for Gruul, Slide Runner for just red aggro. Sticking towards blue-red here, we could take Slide Runner, but Rampager is the strongest card. So I'll stay open to that. Grab a Rampager. Pick 8. Yeah, blue is quite open. There's an Archaeologist. Very nice in any deck with a high non-creature count. But Drawing Disruption is also pretty nice, replacing a land with a counter spell for the early game. We'll go Drawing Disruption. Less opportunities to play with that, and it's still quite good. Pick 9, Archaeologist and Witch's Mark and Salundi Vision. Just sweet blue options here. And looks like we are getting fought pretty fiercely over the Gates deck. So just stick really heavy to blue and figure out where we go from there. Grab an Archaeologist here. Slendy Vision is very good in a super dedicated control build. Archaeologist is a little more flexible though, because in like blue, green, and blue, black, there's some self-mill synergy stuff you can do with this. Whereas Slendy Vision, you have to have an incredibly high instant sorcery count because that's the only thing it can grab. Pick 10, best cards in the pack are still red cards, Gearcrafter and Slide Runner, so this might just be that backup pivot we were talking about of just onto some kind of blue-red aggro build. Grab the Gearcrafter. Grab another Gearcrafter. Okay. Worth noting, there was an Orzhov Guildgate in that pack, so not every Guildgate disappeared, but enough of them that blue-red is looking much better because it's pretty dang open, and Gates is not that open. This pack is fine. I don't think we get to turn into like a mill deck off of Tome Scour, although it would be fun. Blue-black is where you can kind of do that. There's the Centaurs that also mill for. So blue-black mill could be fun to try out, but we just stick to blue-red, take a consider here, which is fine no matter what. Or just a 2-drop to curve out with, a Slide Runner or a Boundary Lands Ranger. We'll just take a consider. If we get any of the cards that trigger every time we cast an instant or sorcery, those will be really strong, but here I think we have to take Wild Slash. Although, Gust of Wind is also pretty sweet if you have a flyer on board. Casting this for 2 mana is egregiously good. There is also 10th District Legionnaire, but blue is insanely open here, so I don't think I pivot off of the blue. Yeah, I'll take the Wild Slash, and I think with how open blue is, we probably get Void Shatter back at worst. Probably not the Guildgate. Pick 3, Boulder Salvo can be fine. We could try to splash in a Dreadbore if we get some Black Gates. Is Legion Loyalist actually good? Need a lot of creatures for it, but the gear per Gearcrafter actually synergizes with it, gets 2 creatures immediately off the 1 spell, gives your whole board that first strike. I think that's cute enough. I've kind of talked myself into that Loyalist into Gearcrafter curve out. Pick 4. Oh, Experiment 1. Green still has good cards showing up. We are getting passed from the opposite direction we were past the first pack, so it does make sense. We will see good cards in different colors than we did pack 1. Pack 3 is where we see all the super open blue and red again. Yeah, I mean, this pack is full of hot garbage for a blue-red deck. So we take a Guildgate speculatively or Experiment 1. Take the Guildgate. Now we've got double black sources towards splashing in a Dreadbore or something. Pick 5, we've got the Witch's Mark here, which is solid card draw. Make sure you don't flood out and gets extra damage at the same time. Pretty insane with heroic cards. We don't have any of those, but it's still good otherwise. And we're just not going to have any power 4 or greater creatures for Boundary Lands Ranger. And I just think the 2 toughness on the 4-drop Bloodfire Enforcer is super bad. So I don't want those two. Armed and Dangerous is probably solid if you're Gruul, but a sorcery speed +1/+1 double strike wouldn't generally play. Unless you're Gruul or heroic, so take the Witch's Mark. Pick 6, pretty easy Scythe Claw Raptor. Solid aggro build going for us here. The Archaeologist looks a little weird in it, but we've got plenty of non-creatures, so it could still play okay. But yeah, I like the Raptor a lot with the other Raptor. Cloudfin Raptor and Scythe Claw Raptor. It's the dream team. It's in the name. Come on. Pick 7, Essence Scatters. Fine, even if you're aggressive. You can use it as kind of a tempo play to keep their bigger creature off the board, so you can keep jamming in for damage. Warhound or Essence Scatter here. Pretty low on creatures for a relatively aggressive deck, so normally I would always take Scatter, but there is an argument for Warhound here. Honestly, I think I'm just going to do it. Let's just beat down. There's a Boundary Lands Ranger. We do have 1 4-power creature now, and the ability to maybe bestow something into being a 4-power creature. Slide Runner's more good on average, just like by itself, because you hit as like a 3/2 trample half the time instead of just 2 damage like the Boundary Lands Ranger. I don't know. I think blue-red's probably going to be bad enough at getting 4-power creatures that, wow, Gust of Wind came back. Super happy with that. Anyways, blue-red's going to be bad enough at getting 4-power creatures to where the Slide Runner's probably better in this color pair. This is nothing, right? Probably. play a Coom Warrior over land 17, I guess. Not the most pumped about it. I am quite pumped about this deck, though. And we've still got a whole pack to make it better. Pack 3, pick 1. We start with garbage. You can splash in Dreadbore, but you don't want to splash too much in more aggressive decks like this. I don't even know if I want the first two Akoum Warriors. Nivix Cyclops is very inconsistent. So it's just a Treasure Cruise, which I don't really want to pick one, but it is fine. It's a good card. Pack 3, pick 2. Archaeologist, Consider, Artisan of Forms, and Steam Augury. Millionth copy of Consider here. I want creatures that are actually like jamming in and attacking here, so I don't really want more archaeologists. You know, just take a million copies of Consider. Wish we had like a Murmuring Mystic or something, but just considering away a Tall Crop Skirmisher could be fine. And that's a 2-drop that's actually attacking. We'll jam that. I've got 2 Akoum Warrior and Warrior Disruption, so we can cut 2 lands here for these 3 cards. And we have the 25 non-lands, 15 lands, so we just need 1 more playable to have the whole deck at the ready. So next time we get a playable, we'll start cutting a card every pick. Scourge of Valkus is a playable. Even if it's the only dragon in your deck, just a 5-mana 4/4 flyer that shoots something for 1 and then fire breathes for a bunch is good. And we're deeper into red than blue, so it shouldn't be too hard to run like 10 or 11 red sources in this deck. Wow, Legion Loyalist and Gust of Wind and Wild Slash. Probably have to take the Wild Slash, but it's the kind of pack we like to see. This is the direction we want to get passed from. Probably cutting some Dragon Mantles. We're not running heroic stuff. So we'll cut some Dragon Mantles. Maybe an Archaeologist. Plays well with the Skirmisher. It's still decent with all these spells. Ooh, another Cloudfin Raptor. That looks good. Gust of Wind also looks good. I've got a lot of non-creature spells now. Yeah, more ways to curve out with just a really big flyer for just 1 mana. It's exciting. Could take Crusader to try to go with Double Mantle. But Double Mantle and 1 Witch's Mark is all I have for heroic. So I really think I'd rather just cut the mantles. Although again, I'm already maybe cutting the first Archaeologist. Void Shatter here? Yeah, no, let's just cheese out some wins here. Let's take the Crusader. Maybe keep a heroic package. Get another Archaeologist out of this one. Pick 9. Okay, we've got like a million copies of Consider, so now Nivix Cyclops is actually getting pretty reasonable. Tons of just 1 mana instant sorceries. Randomly just kill our opponent with this. Cut the whole heroic package and the Archaeologists, and this is our 25 non-lands. Play 15 basics. Considers are also like really good at sort of replacing a land slot. So if we manage to draft anything like really powerful that we really want to play, we can throw that in and just play 14 basics. But it's not looking like that's going to be the case here. It does look like blue's wildly open. There's like 6 Archaeologists. If we were a more controlling blue deck, we'd be so happy with that. Pick 13, Legion Loyalist, baby. Let's go. All right. I will cut land number 15 for that. So we have 17 lands. 3 of them are tap lands, though, those tap spell lands. But we also have 3 Consider to help rip lands out of the deck. Very fun, very low curve, streamlined blue-red aggro deck. So cut land, land, land here. 16 red cards, 12 blue. 11 to 9 right now. This is 10 to 8. I think I'd rather go 10-7. I need the early blue for these considers, though. Yeah, we'll go 9-8 then. Yeah, 9-8 it is. We will call it a deck here, hop into the gameplay, and see how this sweet deck plays out for us. All right, here we are on the play for game one. I am going to keep this, but we have nothing to evolve our Cloudfin Raptor with, so that might be a little sad. I'm still going to run it out here, just on the off chance we draw like a Legion Loyalist or something here. That would be very good. Slide Runner is still fine. Show me that Wild Slash. Feels very likely they have it, because there's something holding here for 1 red mana, and I believe that's the only card. Wait, they could have Boulder Rush, +2/+0 to a creature. And it's the 2 mana 3/1 dwarf. Storm Chaser Mage it is. Well, I can attack into that by playing this mountain. I can Gear Crafter the Raptor up to a 2/3 flyer, but that still doesn't attack in, it just bounces off anyway. So maybe better to hold up the Scatter and then consider if we don't cast it. Which I think I will do. Okay, so the fact that they played a Prowess card like the Storm Chaser Mage does make it a lot more likely they actually did have a Wild Slash, but they're trying to save for some kind of Prowess trick. Okay. Expedite the Mage, make it a 2/4 draw card. Boulder Salvo, sure. Needed to play 2 spells to do that, but that would have killed the flyer even if we had Gear crafted here. Okay, I am working my way towards Scourge of Valkis, so I'll keep that mountain. Although it is slightly awkward, I don't get to hold up the Scatter here. Because now I have nothing else to do at instant speed, so if I pass turn and they just cast a bunch of instants and sorceries again, that is very, very bad. The sick little 2 mana 3/2 trample this game. This Slide Runner has been egregiously good. Show me the prowess trick? None. So they have no instants or sorceries they could be holding up here except counter spells, because if they had anything else they would have just done it. So they either have nothing or they have a counter spell. It feels so much more likely they have a counter spell for the Scourge. This is probably a little too sketchy. Still just make them have it. But I'm just going to hold up the Scatter there. And now we know they don't have a counterspell, so I can just run out the Scourge. Because they don't have blue mana up here. Ooh, I can turn and burn. No, let's just Scourge. Finish off the Mage. We've got a one-shot lethal threat on board. Hello, gigantic Kraken. Goodbye, opponent. Just breathe up the Scourge, and we are 1-0 heading into game number 2. All right, here we are for game number 2. Nice aggressive hand here. I have so many creatures I'm just going to be jamming onto this board. I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to play Disruption as a land immediately turn 1. Since I don't have a 1 mana play, we get the tap land out of the way the one time that we are guaranteed to not be using the mana it provides. So it's our one time to play a tap land without any downside. The only risk is if I draw like exclusively lands for the rest of the game, then like, yeah, this would have been better to have for later, but I'm not going to hold up a disruption until at least like turn 5 or something with this hand. All right. Getting things started with our turn 1 Jwari Ruins. Azorius Guildgate from our opponent. We draw into a Wild Slash for later. The Skirmisher down. As our most expendable creature, and just immediately start jamming for 4 damage a turn. Start triggering Boundary Lands Ranger every turn as well. Looks like a full-on gate stack from our opponent. There's even the district guide to grab another gate. Oh wow, I can slash the guide and play ranger and have consider up still. I guess I just consider right now then. Okay, Coom Warrior sucks. Gearcrafter's decent. This district guide does not block profitably anyway, so I think I'm just going to roll out the Gearcrafter here. There's the Opal Lake Gatekeepers. I can Gust of Wind that for only 2 mana now that I have a flyer out, thanks to our Gearcrafter. Scourge of Valkus. Alright, well now I want another mana. Obviously, they're going to be really far ahead in cards, recasting a Gatekeepers and drawing another card, but if they're dead on board, it doesn't matter how many cards they have in hand. I'm going to want to play Scourge of Valkus next turn, I think, so let's just Wild Slash and Ranger here. Sure. Basically, unless they literally go play a gate, Gates Ablaze, we've got this on lock, and even if they do that, I keep a 2/2 Warhound on the board. So they go down to 3, then I play the Scourge to put them to 2. So I could still win off of like a top-decked Wild Slash or something. Yeah, there's the concession from our opponent. Brutal stuff from Is It Aggro here. We are 2-0 heading into Game 3. Beautiful hand on the play for Game 3. We have the Cloudfin Raptor with just so many ways to evolve it over time. It's definitely going to be a 1-mana 2/3 flyer if it sticks around. Even the Witch's Mark, we can make it a 3-power flyer if we really want later. Another potential Gates deck here. I think we start with Skirmisher as the most expendable creature. I could start with Ranger, just so if I do happen to get a 4-power creature out, I have that getting activated as quickly as possible. Legion Loyalist, that is interesting. That can't be better than just like Ranger, swing 4 here though. Get the evolve. Okay, if they go Mountain Gaze Ablaze, that's rough, but I keep the Raptor. The Gates matchups feel a little like a coin flip. It does feel like, I mean, if they have the Gates Ablaze, we are likely to lose. If they don't have the Gates Ablaze, we're likely to win. There's the District Guide. Finds a red source, a Boros Guildgate here. Is that worth holding the Jwari Disruption up? Like, instead of playing another land here off of Jwari Disruption, just going like Witch's Mark. That'd be their 3rd gate. I can Witch's Mark, ditching probably Loyalist awkwardly. Well, no, Loyalist is kind of insane here. Because then they... Well, no, they just block the Loyalist itself. Yeah, no, they block the Loyalist, take the rest. Yeah, Loyalist is not that good. I feel like I need to Witch's Mark here. And then... Okay. If I don't hit a land, I really need to consider playing Dwari Isle. But if I do hit a land, then I get to hold up this Dwari Disruption when they have the red mana untapped. I mean, it is counter unless they pay 1. Yeah, I guess this whole time it didn't matter that much. If they get the Gates of Blaze, they're going to have the extra 1 up to spend on it. That is awkward. Can play a Gear Crafter, or put a Warhound on somebody, or hold up Disruption. If they have Gates Ablaze, I can't disrupt it anyway. If I Warhound up the Raptor, then I get to discard one of these lands to draw a card. Okay. Next turn I get to play Gearcrafter and hold up Disruption, and that's a very good use of mana. Looks pretty devastating for our opponent, because even if they kill the flyer, we still have the 2/2 left behind. Still put them to 1 on board. Putting them to 1 here, it looks like, unless they've got a 1 mana way to interact with one of these. And then they die if the Ranger ever dies, because the Wicked Roll kills them with that life loss. Oh, put them to 1 and draw the second copy of Legion Loyalist. These draws are disgusting. We're 3-0 now, heading into Game 4. Alright, Game 4. We are on the draw. We've been very lucky getting on the play, I think, all these games. But here we have a Cloudfin Raptor. It doesn't evolve till turn 3, but it can evolve twice thanks to the Gearcrafter into Cyclops. Now it can evolve 3 times. I could consider into a Legion Loyalist here, so we'll do it main phase. Considered into Wild Slash isn't terrible either. Playing against Grixis so far, blue, black, and red. Nothing yet. Gear crafted up, show me that counter spell or whatever you got here. Oh, you know what I just realized? I think Gearcrafter itself can evolve it twice if I order that differently. Try to make the Thopter resolve first. Maybe? I'm not super sure how that works. Let's go for another Gearcrafter here. I think the last thing I want to do is get the Cyclops and then just cast like 3 instants in 1 turn. She's lethal. That's frustrating. That's a lot of blockers. Off of 1 spell that stops all the Gearcrafters. And the Cyclops, to be fair. Because, yeah, trade there. Eat that for free. Our ground troops suck here. Our opponent is insanely stable. With any consolation, our attacks would still suck if I played the Cyclops first, so I think the line really matters against the Sifter. Oh, boy. Yeah, great card is great. Jesus. And it's just all 2-for-1s. 2-3 and a 1-1, 2-3 and a 1-1, 3-2 and I kill your 1-1 flyer. Luckily we've got the slash for that, but this is like the perfect matchup for our opponent. They still get the double scry here too. Kill one Catacomb Sifter with our Cyclops. Can I kill a Sifter and a 1-1? Not horrendous. Or I kill both Sifters, that's also pretty excellent. 6. Kill both Sifters, pick up a Scatter. The 1-1 still just fully hold off the Gear Crafters, but we're getting our damage in the sky. We're doing fine here. I could go land Slide Runner, but I want to hold the lands to trigger the Slide Runner because it can't attack into the 1-1s without landfall triggers, and I don't want to play the Slide Runner without holding up Scatters. There's no way to like get a Slide Runner out, have a land drop for next turn, and have mana for Scatter. But maybe it's still better to just play the Slide Runner and just hope to naturally draw lands. Oh, Essence Scatter cannot counter that, so that's going to be huge here. Loyalist gets double blocked by both of the 1-1s and does die, but we get the first strike attack this turn, which is still really valuable to get the Gear Crafters in for extra damage. Oh, can't be blocked by creature tokens! It doesn't die to the tokens! Hold up! There's like 5,000 lines of text on this card. Legion Loyalist, pre-sideboarded, perfect matchup. Get out of here, Eldrazi Scions. You're meaningless. That's so absurd right now. I do need to keep in mind they have a life-gaining 2/3 blocker they can activate. I'm not going to highlight it just in case they forgot, which they probably didn't. But if they hold a bunch of mana up, they can get a 2/3 lifelinker to block next turn. But my whole board has first strikes. So they would die in the first strike damage step before they gain any life if they don't get another blocker outside of the Shambling Vent. Uh-oh. Must be some real expensive. Please be a creature spell. Play the Archway Angel or something. Alright, I'll Essence Scatter that. It's one less draw for them to hit a Gates Ablaze or something, and I can't counter a Gates Ablaze anyway, which is about the only thing that matters here. Gust of Wind, that would be super sweet as an instant. Oh, I should have played my land for turn. I'm stupid. So they activate a Shambling Vent, and if they don't have another spell here, they just die still. They block a 2-power creature, die to first strike damage. If they don't have a 2-mana instant. Even if I played my land, if they have a 2-mana instant that saves them, it's going to be something that destroys one of these creatures, then they would destroy the Slide Runner. So I think playing the land ends up being irrelevant here. Okay. First strike kills them before they gain any life, and we remain undefeated now. I'm honestly not sure how many wins that is at this point, but it is quite a few. All right, we have gone all the way to 4-0 without a single loss under our belt. We are guaranteed to at least break even on our gems here, pretty much. We're down 100 gems, but we're up all the cards that we've drafted, so super, super sweet spot to be where we can kind of just chill for the rest of the draft. Whatever happens here, we're in a great position. 0 creatures in this opener is awkward, but the spells are all really good, and I can consider towards a creature, so I'm gonna keep it, and we'll see what happens. Okay. A Slide Runner and a Dream. Aww. Cloudfin Raptor. Supposed to be here before turn 2, so I don't have to play a 1-drop on turn 2. Play the Slide Runner first. If I hit some lands here, it's going to be more damage. Sure. Nimbus Naiad, we can slash that. Do not love my position here. I don't have a lot of power on the board, and they're already at like 4 mana here, which is where things can get really, really stable really quickly. Especially with a card as strong as Nibelus Frost. But there's my scatter mana. So they recast it, I scatter it, and we're happy. If they don't recast it, we can just consider. Scatter time. Another Cloudfin Raptor. Yeah, it actually seems fine to run out here. If we get any 2-power creature, that's going to be a beautiful draw. So our play next turn is probably just draw some hot garbage, Witch's Mark, and hope the Witch's Mark hits a 2-power creature. Okay, we didn't draw hot garbage, so we just played a 2-power creature. They're down to 7, but they're going to be at 6 mana really soon. Our board is incredibly wide, but all they can be doing here. Possessed Scab is not enough, right? Block here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage on board. Witch's Mark kills them. we put the roll onto literally any of our creatures and they're dead. I guess if I put it onto one of the 2-power creatures on the ground, they don't die. But I can put it onto the Legion Loyalist or any of the flyers. And that's lethal. Send a message, block the Legion Loyalist, scoop them up, and we are 5-0 heading into Game 6. Game 6 on the draw again. We've got that early Cloudfin Raptor that has been so successful for us. I don't have the 2-mana creature for it, but now I've got double Cloudfin Raptor once I do start playing creatures like our Nivix Cyclops that's coming up. There's a Slide Runner I could play. But I think they're just going to scatter here. Nope, no scatter. Brineborn Cutthroat. Take my 2 damage. Nobody's drawing mana. Well, Akum Warrior works. Alright, so they probably had the scatter, but they wanted to get Cutthroat out before they scatter, which happens to play really well against Cloudfin Raptor, because now they just scatter our first creature and we don't evolve any raptors. So the right way to play and the obvious way to play sadly aligned incredibly well there. To just be maximum value for them in all aspects. There's their own Cloudfin Raptor. Here is our Cyclops. I need a red source exactly for the Scourge. They've got something for 1 blue mana. Really bold of them to hold up a Consider here instead of just playing at main phase. Is it Mizium Skin just to stop the damage? I don't think there's anything that kills a raptor for 1 blue. Yes, this is 1 mana, gain 1 life, put 1+1/+1 counter on Cutthroat. I feel like that's just in our favor, that that's what that is. So I don't mind that at all. I don't love considering when it's not going to help Cyclops. Well, especially if they got triple blue up. To Scourge. To counter Scourge, I mean. When we already know they have Cutthroat. So yeah, we'll see if we can get them to counter a Consider or spend some interaction on Cyclops. $11 life. I'm just digging for red. That's funny. But I'm not going to cast both Considers here, so I'm not going to main phase this. Because if I Consider into another blue source, I'm going to mill it, because I need the red for the Scourge. So, just do that. Cool. Okay, we'll Consider now, because I could hit a 2-mana red creature. Okay, well, they counter this. They don't? Shoot, I guess I should have done everything main phase 1. We got 2 more damage and they'd be at 15. There's just another Mizium Skin for 1 counter. Things are not lining up well for our opponent. The very first turn lined up super well with the Scatter and the Cutthroat, but these Mizium Skins have been miserable. What is going on with this dog? Oh my god. Keeps flying around the whole board. Some of these pets are insane. Ooh. I get the Nivix Cyclops combo kill somebody? Oh, baby. Sure do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Oh my god. Feels good. Insta scoop. They don't want to see any more. They're like, you're gonna do some BS right now. Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. Casting 3 spells, one of which puts a Witch's Mark on the board, so that's plus 9 power to the Cyclops, plus 1 power from Witch's Mark. Sure is lethal. We are 6-0 now. 1,800 gems and 5 packs as the minimum prize out here. Incredible run for this deck. All right. Solid opening hand for potentially the final game of Magic here. If we win, this is the final boss, but we've got 3 rounds in the chamber. So plenty of other opportunities if we can't get there. Mono red from our opponent. Crusader into Rimrock Knight. Let's go, they say. Jwari Disruption, their turn 3 play. Oh, it's blue-red. It's the mirror match. That's awkward. Seeing Crusader into Rimrock Knight, it feels like holding Disruption up for a 3-drop is good. But seeing an island, it's like, because they could very well just pass with like a burn spell and a card, draw spell up, and then it's quite bad for us. Gearcrafter is quite good against Rimrock Knight. Our Disruption did end up playing out well. They just played a great 3-mana red creature there. I'm keeping the flyer so I can gust for 2 mana. Feels very relevant here. Although I'm gonna draw the card that bad. I've got a Scourge of freaking Valkus in hand. I do want to draw the card that bad. Towards the red sources. Like, I could have just slammed both of these down and just traded a 1-1 into the Rimrock Knight. Been perfectly happy. Anchor my token to the ether. Get a scry 1? Sure. This game feels really, really favorable for us right now. I am not gonna lie. Just a fantastic start for us with that cheap removal to slow them down. We've already got the better board state, and we have a Scourge of Valkus coming up, which is also insanely good against their deck. Just a lot of 1 toughness creatures here. They did get an extra 1-1 of value off of the Rimrock Knight bounce, because they did draw into another Crusader, so that's a little awkward, but... Again, our position still looks fantastic. I can't cast Turn and Burn, so I might as well consider pre-combat and see if I hit a land. I do, but it's not a red source, so goodbye. Okay, here we go again. Okay. Wow. Alright, well. Blue mana it is. The whole team is still good at attacking off of just playing a land drop. I don't want to cast Turn or Burn by themselves here, because since we didn't draw the 3rd red source, if I miss again, then likely casting these fused together is going to be better than anything else next turn. The only way that we'll have a better play is if I top deck another mountain. Obviously, Scourge of Valkus will be better than Turn and Burn. Oh no, they targeted something, so I get to counter the whole card draw? Oof. Goodbye, Witch's Mark. To be fair, it's a really narrow line to choose not to target one of your creatures. It's very, very often better to Witch's Mark something. But if your opponent does have open mana, it seems like they could have an instant speed removal spell. That is a weird little corner case where you can counter the entirety of Witch's Mark by killing the creature that is getting a Wicked roll, because that's the only target of the spell if they choose to put a Wicked roll on it. But you can, because it is up to 1 creature, just choose not to target anything, which I have done several times before just in case something like that happens. If you're in a position like this where your only way to win is to like draw a board wipe off the Witch's Mark or something, then you can choose not to do that. Again, it is super narrow, and they probably just die anyway. And there's always going to be those times where your opponent has several open mana up, and then you choose not to put the roll on the board, and they didn't have any instant speed removal anyway, and you just made your board worse. So it's negligible. But worth mentioning, it's good to know that it is an option. Anyways, that game was just incredible for us. The matchup was just so good, being able to just clear out those really cheap creatures, play all of our super cheap creatures of our own and our card draw, and stay ahead the whole game. And that's kind of what we did the whole draft, 7-0, literally undefeated with this deck. Super, super sweet one. Blue, red, aggro. It's not even really a Spell Slingers kind of deck. I mean, we did get the one absurd kill off of Nivix Cyclops, and it played really well in the other game where it cleared out 2/2/3s. Um, but it certainly wasn't a Spell Slinger deck. Nothing else in the deck really cared that we were casting all these instants and sorceries. So, yeah, it was just like cheap flyers, cheap tempo aggro deck. We get all these cheap creatures on the board. We bounce their stuff, burn their stuff away, keep the damage coming, and just played really well for us. We drew super well. A lot of our opponents drew super poorly. We had some mana screw going on, some mana flood going on, and we just always hit the goodies. That is Magic for you. Sometimes you draw super well, but I do think this deck was also pretty good. And I'm super happy to see it get the 7-win run. This was a very, very fun deck to grab the full prize out with today. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed watching and are interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more videos in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.